washing the aircraft off of the people working below. So because it was not very windy, I was getting battered by the rotor wash of the aircraft a lot.
All right, of course, yes, the wind picked up as the afternoon went on, and wasn't quite so bad earlier on. So you can see there's just underneath where the helicopter is, we've got some smoke in the water there. The role of the RAF Sea King is search and rescue, so it's in which role, this one is from number 22 Squadron at RAF Wattisham, and the role is to provide a search and rescue capability 365 days a year, 7x24, for downed aircrew, but obviously also does take part in maritime rescues as well. So Mark, this was you yesterday. What's it like when your feet first touch the water?
That's probably the first moment you actually get some control. So as you can see, now his feet are in the water, he will ask the winch operator to put him at that height, and he can use the water to keep himself facing forward. Generally, people in the water, they don't like being there, so the worst thing is when you arrive with them, they're going to do anything to try and get their airway above the water, which often means they'll climb up you and hang onto the wire, which then you cannot get them into the aircraft. So you use it to keep facing forward, and hopefully you can arrive at the casualty in some sort of order, and then you can quickly get strops on him. As soon as he presents an arm to you, you'll just grab his arm, pull him through a strop, get the toggle down, and you can be out of the water, hopefully keeping him a bit calmer as well.
So advice if anybody is in the unfortunate position of being in the water in the first place and lucky enough to be rescued by you, so you say just don't try and do anything, just stay there motionless but stick an arm out, is that right?
Yeah, I say the ideal thing, he wants to get hold of you for sure. He don't sort of wavy sea conditions, you know, if he doesn't get to you first time, then it could be a big game trying to chase you around. So he wants to get to you as quick as possible, an arm out, and then let him do his work after that. So the more you fight and try and resist what he's going to try and do, the longer it will take him to get you out of the water.
And it seems to me that this is a difficult part just now, because I guess if it's windy, turbulent conditions, you got the chance of both of you being smashed against the side of the aircraft before you actually get in.
It's usually about fun and games, again, as long as the casualties sort of comply.
Oh no, that was a half cube, and it's all dirt coming up after he completes the other half of this to prevent a full horizontal 8. So imagine a number 8 lying on its side in the sky there. After Rod left the RAF, he spent 10 years as the business manager for a flight simulator training company, followed by 15 years with the Civil Aviation Authority. And on the civilian display side, he's flown a wide variety of World War II and post-war piston fighters, which include the Mustang, the Corsair, the Wildcat, the Sea Fury, the Bearcat, the Hurricane, the Harvard, the Sky Raider, and he says his favourite of all, the Spitfire. He's also flown a number of vintage jet aircraft, which include the Meteor, the Vampire, the Venom, the T-33 and the F-86 Sabre, and of course the Hunter, which he displayed so successfully while in the RAF. He's fully qualified to lead formations of any size, and at Duxford in 2000, he was privileged to lead a so-called big wing formation of 19 Spitfires and Hurricanes. That must have been a sight and sound to behold. Filming, we got some suitably stirring music. Let's just listen to the music and the wonderful sight and sound of the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight and the Canadian Lancaster.
And a Spitfire and a Hurricane. Okay. Okay.
motto of the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight is "Lest we forget." It originally formed in 1957 at the famous fighter station RAF Biggin Hill in Kent, and it was made up of 3 Spitfires. One of them, the Spitfire we'll be seeing displaying here, and then with the addition of the Hurricane to the flight was renamed the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight, and then it was given a Lancaster as well. There may well be many people in the crowd here today with family or friends who served in the Royal Air Force during the Second World War. I know there is somebody here today, one Jill Harris, whose father, Squadron Leader Bill Drinkle, DFC, was a guest of honour at the Clacton Air Show in the past. And we like to dedicate this fly past. He was a Lancaster captain in the Second World War, and we like to dedicate this fly past of the 2 Lancasters to his memory as he recently passed away. It looks like both aircraft are identical, but there are a few differences, aren't there? The engines, for one thing.
Yes, the engines on our Canadian-built Lancaster Mark 10 are Packard Merlin engines that were built in Detroit, Michigan. The big difference in the engines are the sound of the engine. It's a little bit different tone. And the propeller turns in the opposite direction. Also, our mid-upper turret is an American Martin CE-250 turret, which is a little bit further.
5 months before the Spitfire, and was a great advance when it first entered RAF service, as it was the first RAF fighter to have 8 machine guns, a fully retractable undercarriage, and to be capable of more than 300 miles an hour. And it is the Hurricane that's leading the 2 fighters there. You can see it with a cannon pointing out from the front of the wings. In contrast with the Spitfire, this Spitfire is the Mark 19, so that's the photo reconnaissance design of the Spitfire, famously designed by R.J. Mitchell. That what was basically the same airframe could have, by the end of its career, an engine that's had more than twice the power of the Merlin engine that powered the Mark 1. Could carry a far greater armament as well. Were the fighters of the RAF beforehand. Wooden canvas compared to the alloy construction of the Spitfire. Sighting, Keith. I bet you don't get sick of seeing that sight.
I never do. That kind of image never grows tired. It's amazing to see the 2 aircraft flying together, something that none of us ever dreamed would be possible, but thankfully came together this year.
And tell us about the background behind the naming of your aircraft.
Our aircraft is known as the Mynarski Memorial Lancaster, and it's dedicated to the memory of a Canadian air gunner by the name of Andrew Mynarski, who came from Winnipeg, Manitoba. On June 13th, 1944, Andrew's crew took off fire to a hydraulic line in the aft part of the fuselage. The rear gunner, Pat Brophy, was stuck in his turret, and while the captain gave the order to abandon the aircraft, Andrew went to aid his friend, and as a consequence of that, ended up catching fire. He managed to get out of the aircraft after a valiant effort to attempt to save his friend, but unfortunately, he made a very hard landing in France and died very shortly after as a result of his burns. Pat Brophy survived the incident. The aircraft crashed. He was thrown clear of the aircraft and managed to escape an evade German capture. by the RAF and the RCAF, Andrew Minarsky was awarded a posthumous Victoria Cross, and it was presented by the Governor-General of Canada in 1946 in Winnipeg to his mother. And we've dedicated our aircraft to Andrew Minarsky's sacrifice.
That's a real stirring story, and of course Andrew Minarsky, just one of the 50 on operations in the Second World War. These are the only two airworthy examples left.
I've got taken to simulation and stuff.
We should say, for those who wish to know, it's the RAF's Lancaster that's leading, and the Canadian Lancaster is second. Who's on board the Canadian Lanc at the moment?
As I understand it, Don Schofield and Leon Evans